Evening, Denver Broncos fans. It's 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday evening. It's the Denver Bronco Roundup. I am Keith. Just down and to my whatever side is the Albert, the Mile High Dutchie. Welcome, Albert.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening to you, sir. And just to the side of me, got the judge, Jody Moncrief. How you doing, Judge?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening to you, sir, man. It's been a week. We were kind of talking just before we got on. Everyone's been super busy and everything they're doing, whether they're moving into a new place, whether they're got that busy job that they're all at, and seems like when we were kids, guys. Remember when summer as kids? Do you remember? I mean, I don't know about you, Albert, but how schooling worked for you, but we had 3 months off, and man, to be a kid again, to be a kid running around in the summer, gone are those days.
You guys were lucky with 3 months off. We only got 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Oh, yeah. Well, and a lot of places are moving closer and closer to year-round school. I remember when that was happening, and there was a big push and idea for that, and my kids were in school at the time, and I'm like, gosh, I can't imagine them not having summer break, man. So, but it'd be like being an adult now, like all of us guys, and like all of you guys out there. So, thank you, each and every one of you who are taking time out in your day after probably a long day at work yourself, jumping in, listening to us, jumping in the comments, being here with us. We appreciate you guys a ton. We got a lot planned for the show tonight, guys. Wrap up our offense as we've been breaking down the groups. We've been through almost all of them. Last week we had Chad Jensen on from the Mile High Huddle, went over our quarterbacks, but we've been through wide receivers, offensive line, running backs. Am I missing anything there? Because tonight we're going to wrap it up with tight ends and fullback room. Kind of excited to hit this room because a lot of changes certainly have happened. And hey, we already got our first comment jumping in here. It's Miss Michelle Kerr-Knoppers says, there they are, the masters of the Broncos mind meld. Evening, gents, and evening to you, Michelle. Appreciate you always jumping in, always being here for us and supporting us and supporting, obviously, Mr. Albert as well. So appreciate you being in here, and of course, we always like your guys' comments. So jump in the chat as well. So, gentlemen, anything we should talk about before we start jumping into topics? Anything that jumps out right in the top of your mind that Broncos country should know about, hear about, or should we jump right into it?
Let's just jump right into it.
Right into it, says Albert. Jody, you got anything, buddy?
But yeah, I'll take the low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
I think if Russell Wilson saved a school from burning down, people would say that's cringe somehow. I mean, it's gotten to that point. He put out a workout video this week of him. I mean, he looks in incredible shape. He's probably down 20, 25 pounds. I mean, he looks like he did when he came. If you want to see a jacked up Russell Wilson, go find him when he was at the combine.
Yep.
And that's what he looks like. And people still are finding ways to crap all over him for it. And I think he's just soaking this all in. And as I heard on the Mile 104.3 The Fan today, he's ready to give a big middle finger to all the haters when this season is over and they're about 11-5, and he's thrown for 30 plus touchdowns and is in the MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, first off, if he gives the middle finger to anybody, then I'll take that bet in Vegas right now. I don't know if that's exactly what he would end up doing, but man, he would certainly have some dirt on all of them. I forget who the coach was, where he says he was taking down names last year about this time. I'm taking down names of all you guys out there. He has plenty of reason to be taking down names at this moment, right? So, I got some people jumping in real quick. So, by the way, sometimes it's really tough, guys, for Facebook to show comments for whatever reason. So, if you don't mind dropping in your name, I'm going to try to keep up with it. But we do have Michael Ronquillo that's jumping in over on YouTube saying, good evening, Keith, Jody, and Albert. Get them all in line there. Just jumping right to Jody. the judge. But no, thank you, Michael. Appreciate you jumping in here. Appreciate you always being part of the conversation. You always bring some fantastic perspective, and really love when you're a part of our show. So thank you very much, Michael. So yeah, Russ is maybe some low hanging fruit. Put out that workout video. At the same time, I heard a lot of people getting super excited about it at the very beginning, and I kind of had to remind myself that he pretty much did the same thing last year as well. He put out a workout video. It's something that he tends to do at this time of year. I'm not gonna buy too much into it. I'm not gonna roast him over it either. You know what I mean? It's something that we get to see a little peek into Russell Wilson every year about this time. Doesn't give us a ton. Last year he gave us this, and he gave us a little bit of working out with some coworkers or some teammates when they all met up in San Diego. We got a little bit of footage of that as well. So don't know if we'll get the same this year, but yeah, he's looking better. I don't know if he's looking all the way back to college scouting combine Russell Wilson. He was looking phenomenal. I mean, cut and ripped, and honestly, I still remember when that combine happened. I was watching that combine, and I remember when he took out on that field, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Because he was built differently than every other quarterback. Might have been a little bit shorter, but as far as like complete build of an athlete, completely different than what you usually see from a quarterback, and really impressed me. So full circle, here he is as a Bronco, guys.
So on
Go
top
ahead,
of
buddy.
that, I saw read on that article, and I don't know how much we can read into it, but they said that our offense is a top 10 offense on paper. So and then with Russ souped up, it's looking good.
Yeah, I saw a couple of different rankings. Saw one just outside the top 10. I think they ranked us as number 11. So, there's at the same time, I was right before I got on. I have a subscription to Sirius NFL or Sirius, and of course the NFL Network is on there. They were talking who's overrated and who's underrated as far as so far everyone talking about, and they went division by division, and it was both guys on there came to the conclusion that the Broncos are somewhat underrated in this division. I think Jody would like this. They are both in agreement that the San Diego Chargers were overrated in this division. So, but for everything that's happening, there's a lot of excitement in Broncos country, and there's maybe a lot of doubters outside of Broncos country. So it's really interesting to see this dynamic play out. And I guess again, we'll see. We'll get to see if we get to raise that finger at the end of the season. There, Jody, how's that? This finger for anybody that's trying to censor it. Yes, number one. Man, Dutchie's over there with the shooters, man. I like it. So, all right, guys, let's jump into the topic. Topic of the day was our tight end and fullback room, wrapping up the offense for the Denver Broncos. And then we'll be moving on to defense when we get back on. But speaking of the tight end room, I was really starting to think about what our Denver Broncos look like last year. Obviously, Tim Patrick goes down in training camp, so we're out without him. Sutton and Jody both kind of struggled out of the gate, and a lot of what we kind of ran our offense through was through that tight end. Our tight ends showed up really big for us early. Obviously, Jody came on at the end. Sutton kind of had a decent year sporadically throughout the year. Nothing that you could say leaned one way or another. But, when you talk about an Eric Salbert, and Andrew Beck, and an Eric Tomlinson, all who have left, those guys picked up a big chunk of our offense, especially early on in the season, if you remember correctly. Jody, what do you think about those three guys, what they meant to this offense last year, and, moving on from them in general? What do you think of them as far as, their prospects as they go out into the league as well? And we'll go all the way around the horn, but we'll start with Jody on this.
I think they did what they were asked to do here last year. But they were average tight ends. Denver had 2 tight ends on their roster already that they had drafted that they wanted to get a look at. One and rookie Greg Dulcich, who missed probably half the season with various hamstring injuries, but when on the field was really explosive. And Alberto, so it made those guys replaceable.
Yeah.
They weren't counting a lot on towards the cap or anything, and it made them really replaceable. And Sean Payton made it a precedence to go out and get tight ends that blocked. Went out right away in the first wave of free agency, signed Chris Manhertz from Jacksonville.
Yep.
Great blocking tight end. And then traded for a guy that he drafted in New Orleans on the third day of the draft in Adam Troutman, who is a two-way player, can catch and is a great blocker. So that paired with Greg Dulcich, who, put up decent numbers for the amount of games he missed last year. Electric. Him and Russ had a little rapport. They were making plays, and then we'll see what happens with Alberto. I mean, he was for whatever reason, he got Nathaniel Hackett's doghouse and, didn't dress a lot of games, didn't play till Hackett ended up being fired, and then put numbers up at the end. Caught a touchdown, got playing time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got all the tools. He's runs a 4.5. What is he, like 6'5", runs a 4.5.
Can't block.
Can't block.
Isn't the best catcher.
But I mean, he's got all the physical attributes if he can just put it together.
Yeah. So man, I asked one little question about the outgoing guys, and you gave me the entire rundown, man. It almost took all the juice out of this conversation, buddy. So we'll end up touching on a lot of that again. But Albert, I just want remembering back to Salbert, Beck, Tomlinson, them leaving. It's kind of amazing, I guess, when I thought back, when I started looking at how this position group kind of turned over, and what those guys meant. And, what were your thoughts as far as those guys last year? And then we'll get on to a little bit of the additions. I'll go back to you on that one.
Okay.
The additions that we put in as well.
So yeah, I really liked Saubert. He had some good playing time last year. When he was on the field, he was a little productive and sometimes way more. Tomlinson, we didn't see him much. I know he got a touchdown, but yeah, he was more out of the picture than in the picture. And then Jody already touched on Alberto. He was really in the doghouse, but the only one that I would like to have seen stay was Eric Saubert, because I think he did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I think honestly in an offense that struggled, you look back and you look at the stats and where everybody, our third leading receiver pulled in 400 yards last year, guys. So when that be the case, you're looking at what these guys did all the way around. Obviously our running game was fairly stout. We relied on that quite a bit in order to produce any type of offense last year, and the tight ends are involved in that. And it seemed like when the passes came their way, when they were asked to produce, all three of them I thought did phenomenal jobs. That being said, and I just want to jump back into the comments really quick, address a couple of people, because we do got Kurt coming in here, Kurt Valente from over at the K&K show, and he's saying, make sure I didn't almost for a second I thought it might have been Kenny from the K&K show, and then that would be amazing. But he's saying, Russ baby, let's go. He says, Jody, I know you and I won't be given the middle finger too. We're behind him from day one. And he's talking about, obviously, from
Correct.
Russell Wilson right there, buddy. So no reason for you guys to get it. We got Clayton coming in here and saying, hey, guys, smash that like button and share. Clayton, thank you, buddy. Every week it seems like you jump in here with us. You're always helping us. You're always promoting us. you're the kind of our our guy behind the scenes. I appreciate you a ton, and not only that, you add to the conversation, so I appreciate it. And he jumps right back in here. He says, "Russ, baby, he's putting in the hard work, and all the small things all small things hard will pay off. Can't wait to see what he can do. The man does he look fit." So yeah, Clayton, he is a completely changed man. I will give you that. I don't know the pounds, the lbs that this man has lost, but yeah, he's absolutely a changed man. It'll be interesting to see how that again kind of translates to the field come this next season. So Albert, getting into who we added, obviously in the tight end room, we can start off. We're going to talk about Chris Manhertz, Adam Troutman. One guy obviously coming in just via free agency, straight off another team. Another guy that had a little bit of familiarity with Sean Payton and Adam Troutman. But talk about Manhertz and Troutman. What do you like about these additions as we talk about the subtractions, again, of Salbert, Beck, and Tomlinson?
Yeah, we needed definitely tight ends that can block, and those two can do that, perform that role very well. And I've from Troutman with New Orleans, that is the only thing that he was doing, blocking. And so he wanted a little bit of different role, and I think he will get it here. And I see as a Greg Dulcich, he was pretty good last year, but I think he's going to get a complete different role this year. Didn't Sean Payton call him the Joker? He's going to be the Joker.
He said he's in line. He's one of those guys that could be set up for that role. So did leave the door open a little bit. He didn't want to just be like, hey, this is our guy, and this is exactly what he's going to be doing. But yeah, he definitely pointed towards Dulcich as being the quote-unquote Joker role, which has been held by running backs and tight ends in the Sean Payton offense.
What does that mean to you guys, the Joker role?
So from what I understand from the Joker role, if you don't mind, I'll jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
From what I understand, this is the guy who's really, I guess, set up to play multiple positions within the offense, i.e. that running back that can be flexed out to a slot position, i.e. a tight end that can line up in line and catch passes or be lined out in the slot and catch passes. A guy that's, again, kind of a hybrid within the offense and is doing maybe multiple things, at least two, I guess it would be the best way to put it, where typically your wide receiver is your wide receiver, your running back is your running back. For the most part, your tight end is going to be one of two positions. He's either going to be a split out tight end or he's going to be an inline tight end. This position could be multiple. And obviously, as a tight end, and one other position that we can also hit in this, Albert, and I kind of missed it when we were talking to begin with, but the other addition is Michael Burton, a fullback as well. So you also have that ability to maybe use, your tight end, again, as a fullback, making a complete hybrid at that point and never knowing exactly what you're going to get out of that position.
And we have another tight end that we don't hear much about is Tommy Hudson.
Correct. There's a couple of low-end guys that did end up being added to this roster. We could talk about them a little bit. There's another kid named Atkins that's on this roster as well in the tight end position. Excuse me. But, for the most part, I think we have a pretty full room with the free agents that we brought in and the guys that we have on the roster. Those guys will be probably struggling for practice squad or positions at best. So. But I'll let you continue on. Again, Chris Manhertz, Adam Troutman, and then I did add just Michael Burton in on your plate as well, and then we'll head over to Mr. The judge, to Jody.
Michael Burton, I think he's going to have a role like Andy Janovich had. And Andy Janovich is still one of my favorites, fullbacks, of halfbacks, whatever you want to call it. And if we get something like that from a Michael Burton, I think that our running game is going to be top notch. And then with a Manhertz and Troutman in there for the blockers, I think we are really good in the running game there. And then Greg Dulcich, I'm looking forward to his new role because he's going to be more of a wide receiver than a tight end, and I think we're going to see some really interesting things with Dulcich, and that is something that Sean Payton already uh, talked about. Is what do you want to do with Dulcich? We will see. That was the first thing he said.
We will see, guys. I don't want you to get nervous. Don't get uptight. But we got the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Staffiero, co-owner of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, joining us this evening. So don't get all stiff. The owner's here. Oh, it's okay, man. He's a pretty cool guy, man. Matt saying, good evening, gentlemen, and hope you all are well. Hope you're doing well, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. Good to hear you, have you here in the chat on our show. So welcome to the show. We're talking a little tight ends, fullbacks. We're throwing it over to Jody, talk about those additions again, and just break it down again. We got Troutman, we got Manhertz, and one person I don't think you mentioned, even in your opening, was Mr. Michael Burton.
No, I didn't. I'll start with him. A true blocking fullback. Knows how to win. Came from KC.
Is he frozen? Looks like he is frozen.
They didn't really have a true fullback. They had Beck kind of playing the hybrid tight end fullback role, but I think that's just going to make this running game tenfold better, having a true blocker out there. And then tight ends. I think Greg Dulcich is going to have a big season if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got speed. I wouldn't say he's exactly the same as Jimmy Graham, but I can see him having a Jimmy Graham type role in this offense. And then some other guys, Adam Troutman. It's a guy Sean Payton drafted in New Orleans.
Yep.
Didn't get a lot of passes thrown his way the last couple of years, but he has receiving ability, and he's a great blocker. He's a two-way guy that knows this offense, and Sean Payton traded for him, so there's some like and comfort there. And then Chris Manhertz, they went out and picked him up probably at the tail end of the first wave of free agency. Great blocking tight end, not much of a pass catcher, but a great blocking tight end who, by all accounts, Denver is going to be in a lot of 12 personnel running the football. So, I mean, the tight ends are going to have to block. And then I got one more guy, a wild card, Albert O. I mean, like I said earlier, he was in Hackett's doghouse for whatever reason. Not that that says very much with how things went last year. But when he played the last couple games, he put up numbers, caught a touchdown. Think he's going to have to do everything he can to fight to make this roster. I
100%.
don't know if with a true fullback and Michael Burton, I don't know if Denver can afford to keep 4 tight ends on this roster. So he's going to have to, prove that show that he's improved his blocking and route running and, catching.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's a guy that,
there.
but he's a guy that when they made the trade for Russ, they were okay getting rid of Noah Fant because they had him on this roster. So,
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
different regime at the time, but still, I mean, they did have faith in him at one time. So hopefully he can put it all together because he does have all the tools. 4.5, in the 40, big dude, can run.
Well, yeah, you talk about Albert was just talking a little bit ago about how he'd like to see Dulcich being used as more of a wide receiver. Well, you talk about a guy whose ability already and his traits already lean himself that way. Albert O is absolutely that guy. I mean, he faster than Dulcich and a larger guy, taller guy. So that's a scary target. If he can put it all together, he needs to put all the other pieces together, though. He needs to be able to block better than he has. He needs to be able to secure the ball when it's thrown to him more often. And Albert, before we jump in, I want to jump into one comment here because I need to get to this one. we already had Mr. Kurt over there. Gentlemen, this is Sis from the K&K show. He says, "Evening, boys. Been a minute. Good evening, Mr. Sis. It is so great to have you here, buddy. It was great to see you on, and this is a perfect segue. Just last week, jumped on the good old K&K Sports Show. They're over there providing fantastic content on everything, guys. Baseball, basketball, hockey, football, you name it. They've got some great content. But who's on the screen but Mr. Sis, man? It was great to see you, Sis. Just one of the great guys over there on the K&K Sports Show. Go check them out. They'll get you covered for all of your non-Colorado sports, especially because Rocky Mountain Sports Network is very localized, as you guys know, to Colorado. So if you're looking for like a little bit of Yankees coverage, I'll tell you what, these guys got you covered, from stem to stern. So good to see you, Sis. Appreciate you jumping in the chat. I wanted to ask Albert this real quick before we jumped into our next topic. Andy Janovich or Howard Griffith?
For me, it's Andy Janovich.
Oh, wow. That's a big one for Broncos country. I mean, I love Andy Janovich, and he was fantastic. I think it was just because Howard Griffith was that guy that was in front of Terrell Davis. So many people are like gung-ho about Howard Griffith. I like that, buddy. I like that you didn't bow to the pressure, stuck with your Andy Janovich, because I think I stuck you with a pretty tough which one, either or type of scenario, guys. So, and Sis jumping in here and saying, "Thank you, Keith, for the kind words." Well, thank you, Sis, and always been kind to us. And maybe just maybe, Sis, we should get you in on the show if you're poised to make that full comeback. So it was great seeing you again on the K&K show. Love to see you again, buddy.
Before you switch topics, what 3 to 4 tight ends / fullbacks make this roster? Do you see?
Well, yeah, that's what I was looking. Last year they had a pretty full room. They had, again, we already talked about the 3 that they let go: Salibert, Beck, Tomlinson, and then we had Albert O and we had Greg Dulcich. We kept a pretty full room last year. That was 5 guys. Now, don't get me wrong, we didn't have a fullback, so we need to kind of take that into account this year. I think that's one position that gets filled. I guess I could start it off, but it's going to be interesting to see how they cut this room. I think Dulcich is a lock, just off the top. I think Michael Burton as the fullback, I think, is a lock. I think he's going to be able to make it. So I'm going to count that in the fullback room towards my whatever count I get to. Albert O, like we said, is going to have a hard time, but both Troutman and Manhertz make it, in my opinion. I think that's about where I'm going to be at. I think that's 4 guys right there. I don't think that Sean Payton carries a 5th in the tight end room. I think that there's other positions that are going to be more valuable on this roster. I don't want to commit to a 5th. So that's my 4 right there.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. I think Alberto is squarely on the fence.
Yeah.
He's going to have to show a lot in training camp and preseason.
Albert, do you disagree with our assessment? Any other direction you want to go, bud?
Nope, that's those are my top 4 too.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a complete turnover in the room, guys. Think about it. Dulcich is the lone guy, sitting on the starting roster from last year in the tight end room. If this is the case, he's the lone carryover. Who would ever thought that Dulcich would be the guy that's kind of carrying the torch as the veteran tight end on this roster? I guess you could say.
See, and the one reason that Alberto is not on mine is Alberto is really good on the straight speed, but if he needs to cut and change directions, he can't do it, and Dulcich can.
I'll say one last thing before we get off this topic, guys. Eric Delilah actually over for Denver Broncos actually wrote up a little article. He got to actually sit down with Chris Manhertz, dug a little bit into his history, I guess, or his background, I guess you could say, who he is as an athlete. One thing that I didn't realize is he was just a basketball player that a Buffalo Bills scout came into his college and looked at him and said, I think you should try out when I come to town, and everyone's out on the field. So he's like, why not? And that's how he got his start into football. So here's a guy that obviously he wasn't scoring a ton of points. He's a 6'6", 250-pound guy. He was the center on his basketball team. But man, he pulled down a lot of rebounds. And when you start talking about hands, and catching footballs, man, that translates so well. We've seen so many basketball players come over and be great tight ends. I just want to put out there that, watch out for Chris Manhertz. I think he'll be utilized more than we think than just an inline tight end blocking downhill, which is what he's known for. But I think he can be a receiving threat as well, and something that obviously we just got done talking about that joker role. It's something that Sean Payton likes to see, is athletes and position guys that can play sometimes outside their position, do a little bit something different than what the norm is, I guess you could say, or play two positions. So Taysom Hill.
Is Greg D your starter? Greg Dulcich your starter from day one, or is somebody like Adam Troutman who knows this offense a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't. I think you stick with Dulcich at this point. I think if he's already been possibly flexed into this joker role, I would have a hard time thinking that someone like Troutman comes all the way up and takes a spot. I will say, as Sean Payton has always said, and watch out for this, I guess, as training camp and preseason develops, best guy is going to play. Doesn't matter how you got here, best guy is going to play. So you never know how it's going to end. But if I had to guess, Dulcich and Manhertz in that two tight end set that we're going to see a ton of is, I think, where we're going to see the majority of the time.
Yeah, you can have two starters.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be one starter named, because of just how starting lineups are, but what you actually fill the field with, you've spoke to it, Jody. We expect this to be a two tight end set game. Dulcich and Manhertz is where I see it. Do you see it any different?
And maybe between Manhertz and Troutman, they might switch around.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be – all these guys are going to switch in and out and around and get relief and expect to be blocking and receiving. But, I mean, what would you expect, let's say 60, 70% of the time? Yeah, when two tight ends are on the field, I'm going to expect Dulcich and Manhertz.
Yep.
One thing that I've kind of been pondering is with Samaje Perine thumb injury, they have not really went out and done anything at the running back position. If you're going to be if all the reports are true, you're going to be a run-heavy team. I mean, you have two hurt running backs right now and Tony Jones Jr.
Yeah. Looking a little lean,
deception?
huh?
Are we going to roll with Russ throwing the ball? And I don't know.
Will be interesting. I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I had a thought that maybe I'll get to at the end of the show, because I think if I let it out the bag right now, we'll never, ever, ever get to anything else. But before we jump into anything else, I do just want to mention, guys, we talked a little bit about the great K&K Sports Show. We do need to mention, we talked about it a little bit earlier when Matt first jumped in and said hello. Guys, we're brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. And so the Rocky Mountain Sports Network is more than the Denver Broncos. It's all Colorado sports. They cover your beloved Rockies. I didn't mean to giggle that much. They cover your Nuggets. They cover your Avalanche, and of course, with us, you're getting some Denver Broncos as well. But they're more than just what you see here. They're over on. They have their own website at RockyMountainSN.com. You can check them out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all on their own. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check them out, guys, because great content coming out of there. I'll tell you, if you're into maybe doing a little bit of wagering or doing a little bit of fantasy, the writing that's been happening over there in that regard has been off the charts, guys. So check them out, guys. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I was looking all over as I'm kind of scrolling off to the side. RockyMountainSN.com, guys. And of course, check them out on the Facebook groups and just type in Rocky Mountain Sports Network and you'll find them right away. So also, guys, Willow Seasonings and Blends. And Willow Seasonings and Blends is our fantastic sponsor. You can find them over at willowseasonings.com. That's willowseasonings.com. This is an award-winning spice and sauce company. Rub, as some would say. I always talk about spices, but rubs, seasonings, however you want to put it, man. These guys knock it out of the park. They're award-winning. They're a Colorado-owned business. They're a veteran-owned business. They're a fanatic Denver Bronco fan as well. So go out and support them. Go over to willowseasonings.com. Also, I would just say follow them because if you're on that front range, if you're up and down the Colorado, heck, I might even go down to even New Mexico, I think. But that being said, he's showing up all the times, doing tasters at barbecue shops, all up and down, all over the place. So check him out for that too. Nothing better than getting a free sample of exactly the spices and sauces that you know that you want to stock your cupboard with. But I'm telling you guys, knock it out of the park good. Spice up your life. Head over to willowseasonings.com. If you type in DBR 2023, that's DBR 2023, and I'm hoping, there it is, in the promo code, that gets you 15% off. And guys, we have a family in need. That also throws $1 towards them every time you put in that code. So thank you guys so much for supporting. You guys have been doing fantastic over there. Dave's seen it. We've seen it. And we thank you guys a ton. So guys, check out Willow Seasonings and Blends. And thank you, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Appreciate you guys so much for bringing you the Denver Bronco Roundup. Guys, with the tight end and fullback room, we kind of start to put that ribbon, start putting that bow on the entire offense. We went through every single group. I'm going to start with Jody, man. I tried to compartmentalize this each and every week. When we talked about offensive linemen, I didn't want to talk about coaching. I didn't want to talk about what Russ is going to do. I didn't want to talk about, the tight ends. And as we went through group by group, we tried to keep it group by group. But now we've got all this offense put together. We can start talking about the wide receivers. We can start talking about that offensive line, put it all together, get the coaches in there involved as well. Jody, I know you've talked to about it before. I know this isn't new if anybody's been listening to the show, but give me an idea, man. How does this offense look? How does it perform? We've seen them ranked as high as 11th. There was a recent report out that had them ranked the Denver Broncos as maybe one of the worst teams in the league. So, man, where do we land with this offense, with Sean Payton, with all these new coaches? How you feeling, buddy?
No, I feel really good. I think this team is going to be run first, which is when Russ was at his best.
Pause just 1 second, buddy, and I just don't want to, because I'm going to let you run. Roy's here, guys. Roy's here and says, sorry I'm late. I had to get things done, but I'm here. Thank you, Roy. Appreciate you jumping in here. I didn't want you to start your run because I just wanted to say hi to Roy, but go right ahead, buddy. Thanks, Roy, for being here. Always love seeing you in the chat, buddy. Week after week. Jody, go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, I think it's going to be a run first team. Run to set up play action. They're going to get Russ out of the pocket. In my opinion, anyone that thinks that Sean Payton is going to make Russ do things Drew Brees did is not very smart. Sean Payton knows that this is not Drew Brees, and there are things that Russ does really well. Russ is still an elite deep ball thrower, and they are going to set plays up for that. And what I want to see from Russ is somewhere 20, 24 passes a game. Efficient, keeping third downs alive. Doesn't need huge numbers, somewhere in the 250, 260 range. A couple touchdowns. But most importantly, like 8 for 12, 8 for 13 on third down, keeping drives going, staying on track, not holding the ball. I think that is going to be one thing that's drilled into him this year is some timing routes and throwing the ball. These taking 55 sacks and leading the NFL in sacks. Those days I think are done. And I don't see any reason why this team doesn't average 24 to 27 points a game.
Very good. Man, I got to come in here. I think Graham is coming in with the hot take on the opposite side. He says, same thing from Hackett last year, didn't fit Russell's skill set, was a bad pairing. Agree with Hackett and Russell's skill set last year. Graham, if you're suggesting that's what we're going to see again this year from what this offense is going to look like, I don't know if that's what you mean by same thing. Please jump back in the comments. Love to hear it. I would agree this was not a match from what we saw in Hackett and Russell last year. 100%. So, Albert, man, put all the pieces together. All new coaches, lots of new players. And Graham's just saying, no, I'm not suggesting that. Good. We weren't sure, man. Hey, hot takes are okay here too, buddy. We have no problem with it. Jump in, be part of the conversation, take that hot take. As long as it's not for hot take's sake, right? We're all good with it, man. If that's how you feel, that's all good. But Albert, I digress. Put all the pieces together. What do we see in 2023 from the Denver Bronco offense?
I think we will see short of New Orleans offense. I think that Sean Payton finally has a quarterback that can do it all. Russell can pass from the pocket. Russell can do play action and deep throws. And with the New Orleans Saints, he had two quarterbacks to fulfill that role, Taysom Hill and Drew Brees. Not that I'm going to say that Russell Wilson is much better than Drew Brees, but he is more a complete quarterback. And I think that's where it comes in. And the third downs, and that's why the tight end sets comes in. Now you do the short, quick pass and keep the game going. And that is what Hackett couldn't do. And the other thing is, in crunch times, we have now a coach that can come up with a turnaround and get the win instead of what we had last year. Hackett did not even know what time management was. I don't think we have the problem this year. So I think that we 12-5 is a decent perspective. I hope that we're going to have a 12-5, but definitely a winning season.
Yeah, must have been peeking over at those comments because Graham's coming in here saying 13-4. Here we come. Hot take? Question mark? No. Super wishful? Question mark? Perhaps. 13-4. That's, I would say, super wishful. Maybe a hot take as well. That's a big swing from where we've been at.
That was your prediction.
It was my prediction that I said could be changed. Again, I think, and I'm starting to come back. Honestly, I'm starting to come back to that reality, guys. I think we all get hyped up a little bit. We get excited about our Denver Broncos. There's other teams in this division. There's other teams in this conference. There's other teams in this league, and they're all looking to get better. And there's a lot of reasons to be excited. We brought in a Super Bowl winning head coach. In the past, we've brought in rookie head coach after rookie head coach after rookie head coach. So just in that alone, we've seen a big change. We saw a turnover in this roster, and I can't really point to a place where I'm like, geez, can't believe we lost that guy and we weren't able to replace him with anything even comparable. There's no place on this roster that I feel like that is the case through free agency and the losses that we've had. I think we've stayed the same or gotten better in every single position on this roster to this point. I don't see any place that we've went backwards. Maybe we remain the same to a detriment. Some people might be able to point to a Kareem Jackson, even though we're not over to that defensive side of the ball. But just as an example, maybe some place that we could have, maybe moved on from. But in general, you can't point to a bad spot. I want to talk a little bit about this offense really quick. And Jody, you brought it up, and it kind of played right into what I said I might not bring up until the very end of this show. We don't have a whole lot of running back options. We hope that Javonte continues this tremendous pace that he looks like he's on to come back and be a comeback story and a healthy running back come week 1, of the season. I don't know if that's optimistic. Go back to kind of what Graham was saying. Is that a hot take? Is that super wishful? Perhaps. It might be too much to ask him to be ready to take the load week 1. Right now, though it's small and Sean Payton's downplaying it at this point, Samaje Perine is injured at this point. So Tony Jones Jr. is your first non-injured running back at this time. We do have to think about Michael Burton does have the possibility of obviously getting the ball a little bit, but going all the way back around to what Jody started with and saying one thing that we should talk about before we even get started was the hate that Russell Wilson got for his workout video and how good he looks and how many LBs he's shed. And I start thinking about the bootleg with Russell Wilson in this shape and the ability for him to take off and run if he doesn't see an open receiver. That, I think, is your saving grace in your running game that brings another dynamic. We already talked about Sean Payton, and he was like, hey, those guys in Philadelphia that like to take that big pile and just push it right up the front and get yardages on short down situations, use the quarterback and just get the fullback pushing him in the back, and we chug ahead for 3 yards and get the first down. I think that Russell Wilson could take another step forward in the role of running the ball a little bit. It takes that decision-making out of his hands. If that tight end isn't open in the flat, go ahead and tuck the ball and use him as a blocker. Run up right behind him, get 7 yards, go down. I think that with his new body style, my goodness, man, he could definitely play that role. So I just want to throw that out there. Obviously, none of us have been able to take a look at any type of OTA, training camp, mini camp, rookie mini camp, you name it. And even if you do, it sounds like you can't report on it anyway. So I just think that's a possibility. Jody, what are your thoughts on that? Could that save us, especially until Javonte gets back?
No, that's one thing I missed. I think you're going to see Russ use his legs this year. Look at the last 2 games last year. I mean, he had that 20-yard touchdown run versus Kansas City. I think he had 2 touchdown runs that game. He had one against Kansas City the game he got hurt. And that was always a huge part of his game.
Yeah.
So I think that will happen. And one other thing I wish that, talking about Russ, I wish don't fall for all the media. Denver's going to be 8-9, or I wish they would ask him, because that's all contingent that they think Russ is never coming back. Well, if Russ comes back, where do you see Denver? Where do you see Denver if old Russ comes back? I mean, if old Russ comes back, I think a lot of these predictions go the other way. So
that's fair, man. And hey, we're not picking on our wonderful, followers, likers, subscribers, and guys who jump in the comment. But Roy's coming in and says, I'm still saying 8-9 or 9-8 this season. And if I'm wrong, I will come here and I will eat crow. So he's saying, hey, I'll live up to it, man. I'll come in here. I'll be the one who eats it. But, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of reasons that 8-9, 9-8 is still A, an improvement, and B, realistic. We got a new head coach, all new coordinators, all new system. We've got how many new players, in this new to this team that we're going to be counting on. We just talked about a couple of them just tonight, and we're only talking about the tight end room. Let alone we start talking about that whole offensive line and maybe a new, brand new, dynamic wide receiver that we drafted, and Samaje Perine, who's never been a Denver Bronco. There's a lot of pieces that are coming together. And where we ended up last year, going to 9-8 this year, is still a big improvement, and it might be just a piece in the right direction. When I initially came out, before we went through our breakdown, I said it time and time again. My prediction was 9-7-1. I'd love to put that tie in there because, it's honestly a 9-7-1 possibly puts you in playoff contention at that point. Anyway, that was my initial prediction. It'll be interesting, guys, as we go through this season. Albert, I did want to go over to you on that same topic, though.
Yeah, I truly believe that with what we have now, we have a very improved offense. Our defense, I think, has gotten better in certain places as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I see with...
And I'm sorry, the topic that I was discussing was the Russell being the running quarterback, the runner. I didn't address that very well when I just threw it over to you. Sorry, buddy.
So, but yeah, that's where Taysom Hill came in. That is what Taysom Hill always did.
Yeah.
When it was a third down, Drew Brees got out and Taysom Hill came in, and you could expect a running play. So,
That's true. And now, to give exception to that was only in the last year or two of Drew Brees' career that really came about. For the majority of what we saw the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, Drew Brees sat back there by himself, and he had a Reggie Bush, or he had an Alvin Kamara, or he had I don't know, you name it. It seemed like they went through tons of running backs back in the day. Darren Sproles was there, Deuce McAllister. I mean, I'm just naming names. Mark Ingram, obviously. So
Latavius Murray.
There you go. Man, it's like you got the roster looking off to the side, buddy. Jeez, you know the Saints roster better than you know the Broncos some nights. I'm just giving you a bad time. No, I just think, yes, I mean, we saw that in New Orleans. So that being said, in that, Sean Payton kind of got away from just looking at the quarterback position through Drew Brees' perspective and started bringing in that Taysom Hill and started bringing in wrinkles with that, his abilities and the differences that he could make, whether that was that sneak right up the middle, whether that was still throwing the ball, whether that was, him, I don't know, optioning out into the tight end position because that was his, kind of more given position. There was definitely a change that we saw from Sean Payton, and wanting to get more out of that position than maybe that he could get out of Drew Brees. And that does translate very well into kind of what I was talking about and what you're alluding to. Maybe Russell Wilson encapsulates all of that in one man, and then it's not, Taysom Hill running out and going, oh, okay, well, this could be a running play. Because if Drew Brees was out there, you never went, oh, this could be a running play. That just wasn't an option with Drew Brees, not the guy he was. So, gentlemen, I think we've done pretty well here. I think we covered all our topics, and believe it or not, we're doing pretty well on time. We got a little bit of time for some wrap up as well. We just finished up with Albert, but I don't know. We didn't talk about it. So, Jody, is there anything that you want to say? Oh, and I just want to say before we lose some of our followers, our viewers, our listeners right now. We're going to be taking a 1 week hiatus, everybody. We'll be not here next week, Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I'm getting a little bit out of town. It's it's a slow time of summer, guys. Nothing going on, no OTAs, no training camps. Hopefully no big news that we're going to miss out on, but you can always check out the Denver Bronco Roundup Facebook page. You can always check out certainly the Rocky Mountain Sports Network Facebook page or RockyMountainSportsNetwork.com. They'll get you all covered. But we will be taking a week off. We will miss you guys, but we will be back in just, like I said, 2 weeks. We'll take 1 week off. We'll be back in 2 weeks. So, but Jody, before we get out of here, anything you want to say before we, take our little vacation here?
Just like you said, this is kind of a little lull before training camp starts. Hope everyone one stays out of trouble. And two, hopefully no more Baron Browning injuries. Keep up the work, but no, we don't need any more injuries. I mean, that's an underrated, really devastating blow to this defense. I expected big
Agreed.
things from him. I think Frank Clark will pick up some of the slack, but that still really hurts. And yeah, just ready for training camp to start, and really ready to see what Sean Payton and Russell Wilson can do this year. We spent big money on Russ, and I hope that it all pays off this year. I have never once said that Russ is washed or has lost. Has he lost a step? Sure, but who doesn't from 23 to 33? And I think Russ is going to come in motivated and prove a lot of people wrong. Is going to put Denver in contention with a top quarterback.
Right on, buddy. I was giving a little bit of signals in the background, and I threw it up on the screen, but Michael Ronquillo jumping in here once again, starting off our show fantastically and rounding it out, just giving us kudos, guys, saying, great show tonight, Keith, Jody, and Albert. And, of course, throwing up his hearts that he always gives us in the orange and the blue. Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate you very much. And appreciate you jumping in here, man. Joining the conversation anytime, and just love seeing your face in here, buddy. You're a great supporter. Appreciate you, bud. Lots of downtime in between now and then. One of the reasons we can take a little bit of a break. It doesn't happen in the regular season, so, but looking forward to what can be put together by Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, and the rest of the Denver Broncos as we start to chug towards training camp. Hopefully, guys, hopefully I get information and we'll post it up on the Denver Bronco Roundup about when exactly training camp will be, exact dates. It's usually always at the end of July, but that being said, love to get all the details. Albert, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts, yeah. It's going to be in a week off, and then I will miss it. But yeah, who knows? Sean Payton might have something up in his sleeve, and maybe we still get a running back, maybe named Diggs towards the Broncos. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope for the best, and that we will have a little bit stronger backfield behind Russell in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Never know exactly what additions can be made. Obviously, there's still a little bit of flexibility out there, and it could always make a small addition. I don't think we're in the running for the Dalvin Cook, like we all expected, but at the same time, Dalvin Cook hasn't signed anything. There's quite a few running backs out there that are still sitting out there hoping to pick up on the roster, and quite honestly, when we talk about the Giants, maybe Saquon Barkley should go just sign his franchise tag and be kind of happy for what he's going to get within that. So,
and this is for Kenny, maybe Madison.
Yeah. Madison should be signed to a big long-term contract up there in Minnesota.
I will say one thing. Talking running backs, I'll make a bold prediction that Javonte Williams starts week 1, and he gets the first carry of the 2023 season for the Denver Broncos.
Wow, that would be electric, buddy. That would be electric, and a heck of, hopefully the beginning of a fantastic comeback story for the season for Pookie, Mr. Javonte Williams.
Yes,
gentlemen, I just want to say, thank you to you, Jody. Thank you to you, Albert. my wife, I think, actually shared it to my own personal timeline. I think it was last week. Totally forgot to mention it. But we just recently passed the 1 year anniversary of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, which is just phenomenal. It was last year, about this time, June 14th, if I remember the date correctly, that we launched it off. It wasn't much longer that Jody joined me. I think he actually joined me week 1, if I remember right, and Albert joining slightly after that. So, guys, 1 year anniversary to you, to me, to all of us kind of being together, being the Denver Bronco Roundup. Not only do I appreciate you guys, but hey, listen to all those guys that are in our comments, all the people that have jumped in our comments, whether it has been, Clayton or Roy, the guys over at the K&K Sports Show, whether it be Kurt or Kenny or Sis. We have Matt, we had Graham, but we had Michael Ronquillo, who started us off and ended us with fantastic accolades. We've had so many people in and out of this show, in the comment board every single week, week after week, now 53 weeks in a row. And the reason we do it, the reason I do it, is because of all those guys that I just named and all the ones I didn't name, all those people that chime in, that are part of us, part of our show, that give us the likes, gives us the shares, gives us all this, that subscribes to our show, that jump in the comments every single week, guys. Thank you so, so much. Getting my sis in there saying hi all as well. So there's one more to add to the list. And Michelle Knoppers. Got to talk about Michelle. She always starts us off on the show. So Michelle, thank you. And Leanna that's just jumping in here and saying congrats on happy 1 year anniversary. And once again, sis, I owe you a phone call. So I digress on that. Gentlemen, thank you. Congratulations to you, Jody.
No, and
congratulations to you, Albert.
Thank you to you too.
too.
You put a lot of work in behind the scenes with the banners and getting stuff put out every week. So thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, it's for you, it's for Albert, it's certainly for all our fans out there that join us every week and like our content and support us. And we thank you all so much. With that being said, now that we've made it a year, I guess we're going to take a week off. So we earned our 1 year vacation time. We're going to cash it in right away. We're going to take a week off. We've wrapped up the offense. We've broke it down group by group. We're going to be coming back with the defense when we come back to you guys. So stay tuned. We'll, of course, like Jody said, we always have those banners that are going out and tell you guys what we're going to be talking about, so you can get all your questions, all your comments, all lined up. Gentlemen, a couple weeks, we'll see each other again. Until then, to everybody out there in Denver Bronco Roundup land, we're going to get out of here. Have a great night. Appreciate you guys a ton. Like I said, 2 weeks. We'll see you again. Take care.